The rule of law is more than just a principle, it's the cornerstone of justice and freedom in any democratic society. In Canada, it's enshrined in our Constitution, reflected in the Charter of Rights, and affirmed by international agreements like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR. But what does it really mean? At its heart, the rule of law establishes that everyone, including legislators, officials, and judges, is bound by fundamental principles that cannot be abridged, even in times of crisis. The rule of law is embedded in the DNA of our legal system. It's not just written in our Constitution, it's woven into its very fabric, standing above all other laws. Justice Wagner in R. V. Wagner explained that the rule of law binds every branch of government, legislative, executive, and judicial. It's not about whether these principles exist, but about how they apply in every case where individuals call on them for protection. The rich intellectual tradition of the rule of law, rooted in natural law, asserts that certain rights are absolute, rights that precede and surpass government or statutory frameworks. These include life, liberty, and property, core principles that make up the foundation of human dignity. What are these natural rights? They are rights inherent to every human being, existing independently of government or law. These include the right to life, personal liberty, and security. They're absolute. They cannot be abridged or taken away by statutes or policies. As Slate Communications Incorporated v. Davidson confirms, even bodies exercising statutory authority, such as Parliament, ministers, or administrative tribunals, are bound by the Charter. No authority can override these principles. Any action taken in violation of the Charter is invalid from the moment it is enacted. Section 7 of the Canadian Charter is a prime example of how the rule of law protects these natural rights. It guarantees life, liberty, and security of the person, ensuring that no law or government action can infringe upon these principles without violating fundamental justice. Similarly, Article 16 of the ICCPR, which Canada has ratified, reinforces that every individual has the absolute right to recognition as a person before the law. This principle transcends national borders, asserting that no policy or legislation can condition natural rights on statutory designations. Even in extreme circumstances, such as under the Emergencies Act, the rule of law remains supreme. The Act explicitly states that it is subject to the Charter, the Bill of Rights, and the ICCPR, ensuring that even during crises, fundamental rights remain inviolable. As R. V. Wagner highlights, the rule of law is not the same as rule systems. Rules and systems can be good, but they can also be used to justify oppression. The rule of law, however, provides a moral framework that ensures laws serve justice and human dignity. The international community recognizes this principle too. Article 15 of the Declaration on the Right and Responsibility of Individuals and Groups explicitly states that it is the responsibility of the state to promote and facilitate the teaching of human rights and fundamental freedoms. This includes integrating human rights education into the training of lawyers, law enforcement, armed forces personnel, and public officials. Why is this important? Because a society grounded in the rule of law depends on those who enforce it understanding and upholding its principles. Education is the foundation for ensuring that human rights are not just ideals but are actively applied in every aspect of governance and public service. What does this mean for you? It means that as an individual, your natural rights are not granted by the government, they're inherent to your existence. And the state has a duty, as outlined in Article 15, to educate and empower individuals and institutions to protect these rights. Even when laws or policies attempt to impose statutory identities, like the designations of driver or taxpayer, these are subordinate to the superior rule of natural rights. The moment such laws infringe on your fundamental freedoms, they lose their legitimacy. By ensuring human rights education at every level, we reinforce the principle that the rule of law exists to serve justice, not to impose arbitrary power. The rule of law is not just a legal concept, it's a promise of justice, fairness, and freedom for all. It protects you and me from arbitrary power, ensuring that our natural rights remain intact. But it's up to us to stand for these principles, to ensure they are upheld in every court, by every judge, and in every decision. Because the moment we let the rule of law be compromised, we lose the foundation of justice itself. So, the question remains, how will you defend your rights under the rule of law?